Hello, Shashank. I'm Berri's interview mastermind. I'm very thrilled to conduct this interview. I have experience in dealing with various subjects and having extensive knowledge in the field. It's great to see you here. Could you please start by introducing yourself?
Hey, hi. Yeah, I am Shashank. I have close to 7+ years of experience, and the entire experience is in data engineering only. I am based out of Hyderabad. I have started out from CGI, and now currently I'm in EXL. And the domains that I have worked in are there was healthcare, there was finance, there was logistics, there real estate. So all these domains I've covered, and my expertise is mostly into Python, PySpark, SQL, Airflow, GCP, AWS, a little bit of Azure as well.
Thank you for your introduction, Shashank. It's wonderful to hear about your diverse experience and expertise in various domains and technologies. Let's continue with the discussion. I'm curious to know about your favorite project you have worked on so far and why it stands out to you.
So I have been associated with multiple migration projects and multiple data ingestion projects, but one thing that stand out for me was I've never worked on an API project earlier. So I was dealing with Zillow, the client, and I was handling or loading their marketing data, which was coming from various sources like all the social media sites, and there were third-party websites which were conducting the surveys. So all these data was very raw, and the insights that data has given out was huge because it was at the minute level. Like, let's say you're watching a video on Twitter or Facebook, it will give out the details as grained as what is the 1 second views, what is the 2 second views. Assuming that the video is about 10 seconds, you have the granularity where you can get the details where the uh, customers have watched it for 1 second or 2 seconds or anything as low as that. So these data was coming from various sources, and we were ingesting that into AWS, being S3 being our stage layer, and from there you insert it into Hive, which is our warehouse. So yeah, that was a very great experience and something I remember for a very long time.
Indeed, it sounds like a detailed and exciting project. Let's now focus more on the details of your experiences mentioned in your resume. Can you elaborate on your experiences building scalable architecture and data pipelines using the various tools and platforms listed in your resume?
Yeah, so there were multiple technologies that were involved and multiple environments that were involved throughout the course of my experience. So starting off with, the first cloud that I have worked on was AWS, where we have used step machines and S3 as your staging and a little bit of Redshift, but more or less it was again getting stored into Hive only. And Athena was commonly used for your quick queries, where you can directly query the files that are present in S3. So all of this was orchestrated using step functions. So that is one part which where I've worked in AWS, and then I have moved on to Azure. That was very small part where I was dealing with a pharma client. So the data that we were getting was all in ADF, like from various sources. Most of them were existing tables only. So from that tables, we were doing some joins and then filtering out the data, doing some transformations that are required as per your requirements. All of this was handled in AWS, ADF, and then uh, Databricks notebooks was also kind of involved, where we were running the Spark applications. So this was all orchestrated in ADF only. All of this is scalable because you have a clusters uh, underlying to your applications. And then the most recent project that I have worked in was GCP, where we were using data flow for a very minimal thing, only for streaming data, which is like one third of the entire data that we were dealing in, and the rest of that was being handled at data proc level, where you have your Hadoop clusters. A lot of stuff goes into that, where you can actually handle your scalability, and all of this was orchestrated using Cloud Composer, and Google Cloud Storage was being your storage. So that is one thing. The very recent project, the current project that I am working in is Visa, where I'm handling their transactional data, all the data. And I also worked on the MLOps part, where we were actually helping out the Gen AI or machine learning teams to get the data and streamline the process of how do they retrain it, how do they go ahead with. Let's say you have a model that is coming less than the threshold on the data that has been already trained on. So how do we automate the process where it will now take up the new data and inculcate the new data into the existing model so that this model can be used to predict the data that is coming again. So all of this was automated there, and this was mostly on premise only because I don't think Visa has moved on to cloud yet.
It's quite impressive to learn about your hands-on experience in building scalable solutions across various platforms. Could you share a specific example of a project where your knowledge of the data science lifecycle and prediction modeling techniques significantly contributed to the project's success?
Sure, sure, sure. So this is the very first project. So I have joined, like my career started as an intern in data science, and then I moved on to data engineering team because we didn't have data science projects. So in that short period of my data science stint, what I understood is you have the data which is mostly unformatted, like it is formatted but it is not ready to use the data. So you have the data, and first let's say you are given a data, you need to find out minimum insights from the data. So you do this EDA, explorative data analysis, where you get the what are the different columns that are being involved, and how much is the data, what data type is the data standing, do you need to convert it for your model to understand it better, or let's say you have some outliers in your data, how much the outlier is affecting your mean, or if you have to go with the median, or if you have a categorical data, what should be the type, which will mostly be the mode. So all these kinds of data exploratory data analysis has been done, and once your data is cleaned, and you have done this, by cleaning I mean, let's say you have empty columns, empty rows somewhere, you fill it up with some random value so that your model will understand that this value is not of that particular importance, can be na, can be 0, can be anything, like depends on your use case. So you do that, and then going ahead you split your data. So basically you will do it in a way where, let's say you have 100% data, you split the data at 70% on training, and next 30% will be your testing or validation data. That way your model will know how much the data has learned or understood or anything. And then let's say if you're based on your use case, so if your model is categorical, you go with something that classifies the data, like if it is yes or no, if it is this or that, something like that. If it is a continuous model, then you will go and predict the values that are closest to what you will look at the outcomes. So my project that I was dealing in, I was dealing at identifying, if I remember it correctly, I was dealing at the patients that were diagnosed with cancer. So we were actually training it to match the actual results to see how good it has contributed towards the predictions. If that is more or less like a classifier.
Your experience in using prediction modeling techniques and understanding the data science lifecycle to contribute to the success of that project is commendable. Now let's step into some specific job description questions related to Google Cloud Platform, GCP data. How can you deal with sequence gaps or data loss in pub sub message delivery?
Yeah, sure. So PubSub is basically what do you say? It is a streaming data. It is a small. I can tell this as an architecture that takes in your messages as inflow, and then you have your customers basically sync that will subscribe to these topics. So every message that comes in has a watermark attached to it. So based on that watermark, you can actually just give me a second. Yeah, sorry. Huh. So you have a watermark attached. Yeah. Uh, so every data that comes in, you have a watermark attached to it. So based on the message that has been sent out and the watermark that you have got, you can expect the delay on how the data is. Then you can maybe group them and then get the actual data that has been lost, or ask the sender to resubscribe or resend the data that has been given, because you have the retention uh, uh, mechanism there where you can retain it for some time. You also have the mechanism of only sending it once. So based on that things, you can actually deal with your sequence gaps or data loss. Watermark is the key thing that you will be looking at.
Thank you, Shashank. Now let's shift our discussion a bit to Python. How can you create dictionaries using dictionary comprehension?
So I can basically, first and foremost, there are two ways I can do it. I can have uh, a variable assigned to dict parenthesis, which will create me a dictionary option, and then I can have a loop written on key and value. I will do a key colon value comma, like for key comma value in dictionary name dot items. So that way I can create a dictionary comprehension using one loop. So if I have to reiterate, I will use k comma, I will open the flower brackets, k colon, like k uh, colon v for k comma v in dictionary dot items parenthesis, and close the flower brackets.
Great response, Shashank, to describe how to create dictionaries in Python using comprehension. Now let's discuss SQL. Could you explain how you'd configure SQL databases for high availability?
Sure. So if you're going for SQL databases as for high availability, the first thing that comes into my mind is have a multi-region setup. That way, even if one region goes down, you have another region that can be pointed to uh, as a standby database. At the same time, have the read replicas. If you're not looking at cost perspective, I would suggest you to have more than two read replicas, because read replicas actually help in retrieving the data, because the movement of data from one region to other region is comparatively slow when compared to your read replicas in the same region. So let's say your read replicas are still available in the region, but your database has gone down. You can promote this read replica to a standalone database, and you can get the data from there. If only the database has gone down in the same region, but if your entire region has gone down, you will have to point it out to the new database to get the data. So you have this option of promoting your read replicas to databases, or if you're looking in AWS, you can actually have your table as global table. That way your table gets replicated in more than one region or two regions. Yeah, so that is one way to uh, have high availability.
Great response, Shashank, to describe how to create dictionaries in Python using comprehension. Now let's discuss SQL. Could you explain how you'd configure SQL databases for high availability?
Sure. So if you're going for SQL databases as for high availability, the first thing that comes into my mind is have a multi-region setup. That way, even if one region goes down, you have another region that can be pointed to uh, a standby database. At the same time, have the read replicas. If you're not looking at cost perspective, I would suggest you to have more than two read replicas, because read replicas actually help in retrieving the data, because the movement of data from one region to other region is comparatively slow when compared to your read replicas in the same region. So let's say your read replicas are still available in the region, but your database has gone down. You can promote this read replica to a standalone database, and you can get the data from there. If only the database has gone down in the same region, but if your entire region has gone down, you will have to point it out to the new database to get the data. So you have this option of promoting your read replicas to databases, or if you're looking in AWS, you can actually have your table as global table. That way your table gets replicated in more than one region or two regions. Yeah, so that is one way to have high availability.
Thank you, Shashank, for elucidating the differences between on-premise and cloud-based big data solutions. Now let's shift to a slightly different segment of this interview. Here is
Okay.
a coding question for you. Write a Python function to find out whether a string is a valid IP address or not.
An IP address is valid if it consists of four decimal numbers separated by dots and all the values between 0 to 255. Oh, okay, cool. I have list all the employees. Okay, department name, I'm printing project name, join departments, join projects on. Okay.
Thank you for providing the SQL query, Shashank. That concludes our interview for today. I appreciate your time and all the detailed responses you provided. We will get back to you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you.